You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. TLR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome. We are broadcasting live from the mothership. You are tuned in and listening to Starseed Energy Radio with your host Jonah Bolt. Starseed Energy Radio, where you can always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. Starseed Energy Radio goes live in 3, 2, 1.
All right, what's up, Spaceshipper? Thanks for tuning in. You are now receiving a live transmission from Starseed Radio. We're having a little technical difficulties here, but we are live. It is Friday. Hope everyone can hear us now. We are tuned in. It is December 11th, 2015. We have an awesome show lined up for you today. We're having a little rough time connecting. Hope we are connected. We're going to bring in our special guest for Friday. We have two very special guests doing the Angel News Network segment. I'm your host, Jonah Bolt, the Octorian Starseed. Hope everyone is having a good week and has a good weekend. We're going to see if we could bring in the guys from Angel News Network talking about a 5D perspective on the news and events we've been talking about all week. This is a great segment where we see from a higher realm what exactly is going on. With that, we're going to bring in Mr. Phillip Collins from the Angel News Network, as well as Mr. Joel Anastasi from the Angel News Network. So hang on one second while we bring these guys to the airwaves. And before we get started, big shout out to StarseedRadio.com for the latest news and updates. Let's see if we can get the boys from the Angel News Network.
Phillip and Joel.
And we'll go over the daily quote. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us on this show. We had a little technical difficulties, but we are live right now, so I'm glad we got you both. And I'm just going to do a little show intro, and then we'll bring you gentlemen right on. And with that, we're going to be going over some top news stories. We've been talking about a lot of top news stories this week. One of the big events that had happened, we had a Mr. Donald Trump make a comment about not having any Muslims into the country, has sparked quite a fury across the nation and across the world on that comment, so we'll get into that. That was a big story we covered. Another big story we've been talking about this week and also for the last couple years really is what's building up over in Syria. We've been talking about how Turkey this week has sent in tanks and troops into Iraq. Now Iraq has said for them to get out. They said no because they've been buying oil from ISIS. Now China has joined the Syrian coalition with Russia. And now Germany and Saudi Arabia, as of this week, have just put troops, ground troops, in Iraq. So this is a big military buildup. We see this escalating. We don't see this winding down. This is a big story we've been definitely talking about and want to go over today as well. Another big story that we've been talking about is the gun control. What is happening? We talked about the San Bernardino big massacre that happened. I looked up yesterday. We have an average of 40 to 50 people murdered every day in this country. Those are the statistics. 40 to 50 people murdered every day. Last year was as low as 36. This year was on a rise. So we see that people every day are not just committing crimes with guns, but also are getting murdered. What is the answer to this? Holding guns was part of the American Constitution, so we have a lot of gun enthusiasts, NRA, people like that, really protecting their gun rights. So this has been a big story for years now. Obama and his administration, many think, have been trying to take gun control away, take the guns away, and many people don't want to give that up as a constitutional right. So that's been a big story. Definitely we're going to get into that today and talk about what are some higher perspectives on gun control. What are some of the ways or means we could possibly get some advice from the higher realms so we don't have this chaos with the guns. There's many countries around the world that don't have guns and gun rights that are moving along just fine. So that's going to be a topic for discussion today. There's been lots of news as well around the weather. We've had some big weather changes happening over the last week. That's pretty normal, as well as we've had a couple smaller stories that we've been talking about. But those are the main ones that we want to cover today, and I think that Joel and as well as Phillip, once he opens up and starts channeling from the higher realms, will be able to guide us towards some of these hot news items that we're talking about today. Now, a lot of these stories urge always people to check out for themselves, do your due diligence, and research all this stuff we're telling you on your own, because we really want people to absorb this information, but also learn it for yourself. So I'm always a big advocate for saying, do your due diligence, check this information out, do what you can to learn as much as you can. It is definitely an information war that is happening, so we want to make sure that people are getting as much information and knowledge as they can about these type of topics that are really shaping our world. And with that, we're going to bring on the gentleman from Angel News Network. Check out the angelnewsnetwork.com. We have Phillip Collins and Joel Anastasi joining us every Friday to look at the news and updates from a 5D higher perspective. With that, thank you both for joining us. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great in the sunny South Florida. I'm glad it stopped raining a little bit where we're broadcasting, so it's good to see some sunshine. And very excited to hear what the higher realms have to say today about these news stories and topics. And I know, Joel, you had a couple news stories similar as well, so we'll get into that. And if I have any questions or anything, I'll jump in with a question or two while Phillip is in trance. But if you would always, Phillip or Joel, give the listeners a little just bio, a little background on what you're going to be doing, just to open them up and let them know what they're going to hear over the next hour.
Well, Phillip is a semi-trance channel, and he goes into trance, and one of the higher realm entities come through. We've had the Intergalactic Federation. We've had various of the archangelic realms, and they'll usually begin speaking, and then I'll begin asking questions related to the various news items that you are bringing up and that I've identified as worthy of discussion, trying to get, as you said, the higher realm perspective on these 3D events that are so riveting in our attention here.
Greetings, beloved humans. Being human, we come to you at this time from the Galactic Federation in combination with your star seed energy fields, dear one. We wish to remind you that we of the Galactic Federation, who are working with many of the inner Earth civilizations, the archangelic realms, and the star seeds that seeded your planet, we work in concert with the evolution of your planet. We wish to remind you at all times, dear ones, to use your own resonance, how you feel about something through your hearts, and your own discernment, how you think about it through your mental bodies, with any information that you accept, dear ones. This would be true with anything that you hear from the higher realms channeled through various channels. So here you are, dear ones, within the final throes of the ascension process of this particular planet, and we of the Galactic Federation have been following this planet since the inception of the planet and you humans making a decision to come here from various worlds, from various galaxies, from various solar systems and various planets to be as part of something called humanity. To learn through density, to learn through duality, to learn through separation, to learn through confrontation. In effect, to learn what is through what is not. This is the decision, this is the choice that you've made through your freedom of choice and freedom of will, dear humans, on this particular planet. The timeline of this process is coming to an end within the final 2,000-year cycle of this particular planet. Your planet is broken down into 26,000-year cycles, where your poles flip, north becomes south, south becomes north. Within the 26,000-year cycles, dear ones, you have 2,000-year cycles. What happened 2,000 years ago was the introduction of the Christ consciousness, having nothing to do with your organized religion. Christ meaning soul, consciousness meaning awakening. The awakening of your soul, the awakening of your eternal beingness. You came to this particular planet from a formlessness and made the decision through the manipulation of energy to go into form, into density, into the humanoid forms that you are at this time. So with this brief background, let's begin looking at the events on this particular planet, which are all aspects of your ascension process, moving to a higher frequency of existence, realizing, dear one, that this is a process of inside out, but the relationship with self being a reflection of all that there is. Let us begin with your headlines, dear ones.
Thank you very much for joining us. Could you just very quickly for our audience define what the Galactic Federation is?
The Galactic Federation is an organization that communicates with all of the other civilizations in this particular galaxy, your so-called Milky Way. We are a federation that interfaces with the different solar systems and planets within their solar systems. We're all eagerly awaiting and being influenced by what happens on this particular planet. For what happens with one happens with all, since we are all connected in a oneness energy, dear one. There are many, many different sub-organizations within the Federation, since there are literally millions and billions of worlds within this one galaxy alone. But precise to say, there is an organization that oversees and interfaces with the entire galaxy in this particular case, realizing there are also millions of galaxies. But we are focusing on this particular planet since this is where we are at this time. Does that help you?
It does, and in your initial comments, you also referred to the ascension process of this planet. Just a simple statement as to what the ascension process is.
It is moving from density to light. You began as light through the forces of love and light, the energetic field of light and love, and you are in the process of returning to that. Your planet is becoming a star, a body of light, a sun, if you will. Thus, in turn, everything within and upon the planet will modulate, will transmute to that same frequency, or they will not be here. Each planet goes through this evolutionary process of ascension. It's this time for this particular planet to do so.
Well, it's time for this planet to do so, and of course, in the process of ascending, we're all recognizing that we're all one, and we're moving towards unity, correct?
Yes, Dylan.
Well, what's so disturbing, of course, is as Jonah had identified some of the news stories that we were going to be talking about, it seems to be anything but unity. Jonah referred to some of the mounting conflict that seems to be occurring in the Middle East with Turkey and Syria and the Soviet Union and China and all the rest of them. What observations would you make about what's going on now in the Middle East?
Dear one, these are ploys that have been taking place in your planet for millennia, the few controlling the many. They have no national boundaries. But where there are opportunities to attempt to control them, they cannot control what they did not create, but they attempt to control and manipulate certain countries, certain national boundaries through their power and through their money and through their influence. Their ploy, their game plan is to keep you in separation and duality and confrontation, so you cannot see behind the smoke and the fury and the war and the conflict. We ask you to begin, if you so choose, through your freedom of choice and freedom of will, to begin to follow the funding, to follow the finances of these situations. They have kept humanity in conflict and warring with one another, again, for millennia on this particular planet. And if you so choose, it's time to expose them. Does that help you?
Well, certainly follow the money is always is good advice, but needless to say, following the money is a tremendously complex puzzlement, especially since you've implied in the past that our own governments are involved in some of this. Is that correct?
It is. There are many, many forces, including your own governments, that are involved in these, and it's to their monetary benefit to keep certain aspects of the planet in conflict. That is how you produce more money. War makes money. War equals money, with no respect and no value for human life or the destruction that it creates. It has to do with the origin of the species on this particular planet. You have been manipulated, your DNA and your RNA, and many of your higher realm aspects of yourself, your spiritual components, have been shut down. They're in the process of being rebooted. But in the meantime, these hidden forces, these few controlling the many, are playing on this, keeping you in conflict. You're seeing it within your political arena right now, and your United States, unlike ever before. But not everyone is buying the deception. Not everyone is being deceived. Not everyone is accepting the denial of the deceit, dear one. There are many of you who are conscious of exactly what's happening, not with all the details, but you have an idea, you have a concept that there's something else happening rather than what appears to be within your news and the information you're getting on a daily basis.
Yeah, and I think part of this awareness comes from the fact that the cost of the wars that we had in Iraq and Afghanistan is still with us, and some of the drumbeat for war that we're starting to hear in Congress, some of it's coming from the same people that championed the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan, and they're beginning to call Obama weak, et cetera, all that kind of stuff. And I think there's some blowback coming from folks where the costs of that invasion, that horrible mistake we made invading Iraq, is in people's consciousness right now.
And it also has to do with the elevation and the rebooting of your chakras, your higher chakras. You have 7 within your body now, and 8 to 12 are in the process of being activated to represent the 12 star systems that feed the planet. It also has to do with the activation of your spiritual DNA, which has been called junk DNA. This is allowing you as a species to become more conscious, to become more aware. You have forms of communication and transportation which allow you to be aware of more information than ever before. So what wisdom is learning what applied knowledge is. So you're beginning to look at the knowledge and information you have through the communication and transportation systems that have been gifted to you from we of the higher realms. So you're putting together this knowledge, you're applying it, and you're beginning to move into wisdom through the process that you're experiencing. Does that help you?
So there's an important spiritual component to this.
There is a very important energetic and spiritual component to the species and the planet itself. Remember, dear ones, before you came to this planet, there was a conscious being from another galaxy who came and seated herself, star-seated herself at the core of your planet, your mother Gaia, your planet Earth. This is a conscious living being who maintains and sustains the life on this planet. Your heartbeats are regulated by the electromagnetic field of this entity.
You just used words I don't remember hearing before. The star being Mother Gaia seated herself in the planet. Is that the way you expressed it?
Yes, dear one.
Could you just explain a little bit about what you're saying?
Each planet, in its creation process, allows a creation seed, a conscious creation seed, to come within it, which prepares the planet for the life that is to come. be it human, be it plant, be it animal, be it mineral. So each planet is maintained and sustained in the forces on that planet by that core starseed consciousness being, which works in concert with the other elements on the planet in order to prepare the planet for life as you know it now. Does that help you?
That's wonderful. I've never heard that explanation before.
Now you have, dear one.
Now we have. Well, at some future point, we'll explore that more. But we want to bring the kind of spiritual perspective you're bringing to the topic we just discussed to what seems to be unfolding here with this fear of terrorism that is gripping the United States and much of the world. One of the manifestations of it is the fact that Donald Trump is surging in the polls, and he's calling for what a lot of people refer to as fascist policies, where he wants to build walls between nations and keep the Muslims out and keep immigration from coming in, and taking all kinds of strong-arm tactics to control people.
Okay, I think we're back live on the air. Looks like we're having a little technical difficulties right now. We're going to try to get back Phillip and also Joel. Not sure what's happening today. Lots of technical stuff. Maybe Mercury's in retrograde. I'm not sure. Let's see if the boys are back on. And okay, it was just getting good with the news updates and technical difficulties. And let's see, I'm going to try to bring in Phillip now. Okay, something's going on. KT, RFM, let's see, here we are. And okay, we're having some major technical difficulties. Not sure what is going on or why this is happening, but it does happen usually when we're going over important information. So it doesn't surprise me that this happens. Let's see if we can get the gentleman back on here. Okay.
Hello, Jonah?
Yes, hello. The call dropped. We're back on live.
Yes, okay. Phillip will go back into trance. Just give us a few seconds here.
Sure.
We were last talking about the fear that is gripping so many of the Western countries, so that many of the right-wing elements are beginning to raise their voices, bringing in policies that are very reminiscent of the fascist policies of the early part of the last century.
We return to you now, we of the Galactic Federation, dear ones. We have been talking about fear. Fear being the absence of love, and love being the force that created your planet. The meaning, value, and purpose of your planet is to learn to love self and mirror that out into others and to world service. What you're experiencing with certain individuals who are vying for power positions within your political and governmental positions is a deceit and a manipulation, again, of the few controlling the many. Appealing to the base fear factor of the human psyche. Dividing them and us. Focusing on a me consciousness rather than a we consciousness, which is the destiny of your planet within this ascension process, this final 2,000-year cycle. So you have, we would call, a puppet who has been selected to begin to deceive you, to begin to separate you. And here's the irony, dear one. These divine souls are actually financed by the very organizations they say they're willing to separate and protect you from. Here's the irony of the situation. Here's the folly that is taking place.
2 minutes, Joel.
So it is up to you, if you so choose, in your consciousness, dear ones, to become aware of it. We are here to help you and assist you and bring you this information. Through your resonance and discernment, you can decide what you apply. We cannot interfere with your freedom of choice or freedom of will. But be aware, dear ones, once again, humanity is being manipulated. You have a choice now to choose unity or continued separation through love rather than fear.
So the political people that seem to be exploiting this fear, you're suggesting that they have been, that some of them have been selected by the powers that be.
We are not suggesting here one, we are informing you.
So could we say that it is likely that falls into that category?
The Liam Chef Show, Thursdays on Truth Frequency Radio.
Hello, citizens of America. We are anonymous, and we have been observing as your country's leaders have lied to you and placed your freedom and your constitutional rights into jeopardy. We are very disappointed about this, and we have decided to take steps against what you are facing. The world is watching America. We are also watching. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
All right, welcome back to the show. You're listening to Starseed Radio. We're going to go back to Joel Anastasi and Phillip Collins, who's currently in trance, with news from a 5D perspective. Joel, take it away.
Well, we're just talking about how the fear of terrorism has kind of triggered a right-wing response around the world in terms of many of the Western powers. And a very closely related subject is the whole issue of gun violence, certainly that we're experiencing in the United States. We just have had one mass shooting after the next. Jonah cited statistics that we're averaging in the United States this year 40 to 50 people a year, a day, are killed by guns. We don't seem to be able to go anywhere in Congress. The NRA has such firm control over so many of the people in Congress. We can't get any of the legislation to control access to guns or any of the automatic, even controlling the automatic weapons that we have in this country. What observations would you make about what's going on with this violence with guns and our inability to control it?
Dear ones, it has nothing to do with guns. It has nothing to do with your man-made laws. It has to do with your relationship with self. The fear, the unworthiness, the not feeling good enough, that allows someone to take a weapon and put it into their hands and destroy themselves or others. If you wish to resolve this, you will not resolve it by the number of guns that people have or man-made laws. You will resolve it by understanding what are the core issues, the cause and effect that is causing people to behave this way. By looking at the relationship with self, again realizing that self is a reflection that all there is, many of these individuals feel hopeless. They feel segregated. They feel separated. They feel dualistically not involved in the rest of life, or the rest of the world, or the rest of their communities, or their governments. And they feel within their fear a rage, and they are acting out rather than having to have the ability to respond as to what they're feeling and what they really need. If you ask most of these individuals who are acting in what you call a terrorist format, they would not even be able to express what it is they need. They're so involved within the aspect of acting out. Now, allowing weapons that are designed for mass destruction, humanity, if it so chooses, can make a decision whether it is to serving the highest good of the civilization to have these available to everyone. And ask yourself, what purpose would that be? You can have laws that says you can protect yourself by having certain weapons. But again, that is not going to prevent an individual as to how they express that in relationship to themselves and how that relationship mirrors out to others. It will not be resolved through politics. It will not be resolved through the number of guns. It will not be resolved by your laws. It will be resolved by understanding the relationship with self. Does that help you?
Well, you're making it clear that many of those people who are striking out are feel hopeless and excluded and not part of society, and they're angry and so on. But that seems to be a very long-term solution to what is a very acute problem. Certainly, the manufacturing of guns has to do with the manufacturers who are behind much of the power of the NRA, from what I understand it, and aren't really concerned about the consequences of having free access to guns as they are. So it's true that people using the guns are doing it for the reasons you've said, but nonetheless, that doesn't address the problem in the near term.
Well, it actually does, dear one. If your civilization began to focus on these wounded individuals and the defenses around their wounds and how they're acting out and following them more closely within their childhood and their young adulthood, you would actually be preventing a lot of behavior that has become quite destructive and actually has become epidemic. You have within your DNA configurations, due to some manipulations within your past history, the ability to kill one another. This has been, if you will, seeded within you to keep you within separation and duality. You're in the process of healing those components of self that will not allow that process to take place. It is a process. It will not heal itself overnight. But you can reach a point of saturation of saying you are sick and tired of feeling sick and tired about all of these individuals being killed and being concerned about your own public safety, and begin to take a deeper look at the cause and effect as to why this is happening. In freedom of choice and freedom of will, you can certainly change certain laws. You can certainly make the weapons, if you will, available less to certain individuals.
Okay, looks like we got another short again. I'm not sure why the gentleman's... Let's see. Okay, looks like we dropped a call again. Sorry about this, folks. When you do relay good information, things like this happen. Maybe they hit the mute button. Phillip, Joel, can you hear me? You guys are still connected? I guess they can't hear me. It shows we're still connected. I'm not sure if these gentlemen had hit the mute button.
Come up out of trance.
Okay, you're back. Okay. Looks like they're still connected, but their phone is not working because they're connected. I don't hear them. Maybe we should try calling Phillip on the cell phone. Let's see. Okay. All right, well, we're going to try Phillip back on another line here and see if we can get him to connect via cell phone. Maybe that will be a better connection. Let's try him there. Not sure what's happening today. We got to check to see if Mars is in Mercury's in retrograde or not. Let's see. Okay. Interesting, because I know they're using a landline, and this normally does not happen, but their line is connected, but they're totally muted. So, interesting here. Let's see if we can get them back. Looks like they're calling. Add to group call. Hello, gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're here. Yes, we can.
Okay, good. We're back on live. I'm not sure what's happening, but the other line is still connected, but there's no sound coming through, so it's very weird.
We were able to hear you. So we're going to do it on this phone we're on now?
Yes, correct. Let's continue with this one. The other one keeps muting out.
Okay. Let's just give Phillip half a minute to get back into trance.
Sure, no problem. And Joel, when he does go back into trance, maybe we could talk about the gold and Trump.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We're back, dear ones.
When we were talking last time, you introduced a subject that was fascinating, and I'm not sure I really captured the essence of what you were saying. We were talking about gold, and I was getting the impression that you were suggesting that gold is a kind of cosmic gift that is created out into the cosmos and brought to certain planets. I may not have gotten that correct, but what were you saying about gold and how it shows up?
Dear ones, gold is an element that is created through the forces of love. Within the vibratory, energetic components and molecular structure of gold is love. It has been seeded to various planets, such as yours, from your star, what you call your sun. It is an element that is placed within this particular planet and other planets to assist and maintain and sustain your connection to higher realms through the love force. Originally, with many of your civilizations, the gold was used that way in spiritual ceremonies and temples. Later, it became manipulated into a monetary system, and now it's largely being hoarded and hidden by the forces that control your financial systems worldwide. Does that help you?
Well, that's fascinating. So it sounded like the primary value was to insist with our connection to the higher realms.
Yes. Many advanced civilizations in the past have come to your planet to mine the gold on this particular planet to repair and heal certain forces within their home planets. Your natural sciences have recently discovered and began to understand that only through the element of gold can you heal the atmosphere breaks that have been created through your pollution. It heals through the force of love, through the vibratory force of love. It's become an example of love in your jewelry, in your rings of union, your so-called marriage rings, and other forms of expression of the use of it. But originally it covered temples, and it was used as this conduit through the love force to the higher realms. Remember, dear ones, all of your past advanced civilizations, be they Lemurian, Atlantean, Egyptian, Greek, Aztec, Mayan, whatever, they were all maintained and sustained by the connection to realms such as we, in this case, the Galactic Federation, and many other higher realms in a higher frequency rather than the one you reside in. Does that help you?
Right. Now, you said that it has been manipulated to be used in our monetary system. So that doesn't sound like a positive development.
You have paper systems which are based upon debt that originally were based upon gold, and they are no longer based upon gold. Most of your monetary systems have lost their connection, their original connection, their gold-based connection. So you now have monetary systems based upon illusion and based upon debt. Originally, they were based upon a gold standard. You've had certain political and governmental leaders who have attempted to return it to a gold-based system, which would actually give a true value to the paper. Right now, your paper really has no value, dear ones.
Well, because of that illusion and because of that built on debt, there has been a lot of speculation that the financial systems are going to implode, and that has been forecasted for a very long time. And supposedly one of the solutions would be if you go back to a gold standard. Any observations about that?
Sure. The systems will only collapse when it is to the advantage of those controlling the systems for it to collapse, so they can buy it back on the low and sell it on the high, to use your terminology. You know, it's all manipulated.
Some of the other higher realms, specifically Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel, and the Mary energies, kind of counseled to hold on to gold, that it had inherent value, and that in the long run that would be a wise course. Do you care to make any observation about that?
It is allowed back into the system. The system that's controlling and hoarding the gold at this time may or may not allow it to actually return back into the system. That is to be determined in your free will and choices.
Well, we can't speculate about that, can we?
Well, humanity loves to speculate, dear one.
Yes, well, the internet is loaded with all kinds of speculation, as are many financial advisors.
Just realize in summation, dear ones, that gold is called a precious metal for a reason. It is precious because of the molecular energetic love force energy within it, dear one.
Well, silver and platinum are also called precious metals. Do they have any special cosmic meaning?
Each element, each metal element has a function on your particular planet. The gold relates back to the sun forces that created it. Your silver relates to your moon, your lunar forces, your satellite forces that have relationships with particular planets. Each element has a specific relationship dependent upon its origin, dear one.
Well, that sounds like a book all by itself.
It is a science unto itself, dear one.
Exactly. Jonah, how much more time do we have?
We have about 10 minutes left, so maybe we can go into Trump a little bit.
Okay. We could go. I'm sorry. What did you say?
Maybe we could go into the Donald Trump remarks this week.
Well, we've talked about Donald, and we've been told that he could very well be selected to keep us in division and conflict. I wanted to move on to a subject having to do with these terrorists
Sure.
who claim their right to kill people and assault because the Quran justifies it, that Muhammad taught in his writings that they have the right to destroy infidels. Would you make an observation about what Muhammad's teachings really were and whether or not that's an accurate portrayal of what Muhammad was saying and teaching?
Joel, the divine souls that you're referring to have nothing to do with Islam. There are militants being supported financially and otherwise by hidden forces to keep the planet in conflict and separation under that illusion. The Quran was dictated to the Prophet Muhammad by the archangelic forces of Gabriel to bring the Christ consciousness energy into the planet again through another vehicle. If you study your religions and the prophets and the ones that brought them forward, each of them came into the pathway, if you will, of humanity at a specific time within the evolution of humanity on this particular planet to again revisit basic truths. The spiritual truths of all religions, be they man-made or otherwise, are basically the same. The foundation of love, the foundation of equality, harmony, and balance. Without creating harmony, equality, and balance, you will not evolve as a species. One of your largest underlying disturbances within the inability to do this is the imbalance of the masculine and feminine energy, which the divine souls who you are describing are involved in at this time. They're continuing to subjugate this energy, the energy of human creation itself, the feminine energy. Does that help you?
Yeah, we talked a little bit at the beginning about the fact that mankind is in the ascension process where we're all coming together as one. The Muslim societies don't seem to honor, maybe I've got a wrong reading of this, the equality of women in their midst. Is that correct? And what have you said about ascension will not happen to mankind until there is a balance of the masculine and feminine energies?
The masculine energy through this religion has destroyed the truth and the foundation of the original intention of the religion, dear one. There's never been any information coming in from the archangelic realm of Gabriel that professed any duality between the two energies of masculine and feminine. They have all been distorted by the influence of the assertive masculine energy in each of the religions, particularly Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. What was your other concern, dear one?
Well, we were talking about the ascension of mankind, and there are about 1 billion Muslims, I believe, on Earth. And if this religion, which is such an important component of mankind, is failing to understand and allow the movement of equality between the masculine and the feminine, that's going to be a tremendous obstacle to the ascension of mankind on Earth.
Of those individuals themselves, and you might ask yourself this question. Those who profess to be Muslim, if there's someone in your vernacular commandeering their religion, what prevents them from standing up and saying otherwise?
Well, that's the question.
That is the question, dear one. That is the question of the day, of the hour, of the moment. It is an opportunity for those who have been maligned, if you will, to speak the truth.
Well, President Obama spoke to that just the other day, urging Muslims to speak up and state what the truth of their religion is.
We would encourage that as well, dear one.
Now, of course, they don't have a pope the way the Catholic Church does. There's no head of the Muslim church. I don't quite pretend to understand the organization of it, but you're also calling for Muslims to stand up and challenge what the way their religion is being represented.
The way they truly are.
Yeah.
They are infiltrated and integrated throughout the planet at this point. There's a purpose and a meaning in that being so as to how that particular religion within the human context has been created. It's not going to go away. It's an opportunity to realize that it is a form of diversity, all of these religions, and they all need to be respected amongst one another, realizing there's room for all of the diversified expressions of what you call God. But what has happened is these religions have been manipulated into control mechanisms that have diverted the entire intention of the original religion.
Would you tell us again what the inspiration of the Archangel Gabriel was for the founding of the Muslim religion?
It had to do with the timing that it came in. See each religion as they come into humanity, dear ones, on a timeline. Whenever humanity is forgetting and needs, if you will, a reminder, another way of explaining the same truth. They are all teaching love and respect and harmony and balance. All of the religions do this. How much of them are actually being that? That is a discussion within itself. So see each religion coming into humanity on a certain timeline to refresh, if you will, the consciousness of humanity with basically the same message as the past.
Well, do we need another refreshment course here? It's been 2,000 years since we had Jesus come on the scene. Does humanity need some more refreshment?
The refreshment that humanity needs is to realize that you are religion, that you are the truth, that all you need to know is maintain and sustain within you, that it is the process of inside out, not outside in, that you are the church, that you are creation creating, that you are God experiencing itself. This is what humanity is waiting, and we in the higher realms are waiting for humanity to remember and embrace, dear one.
So didn't Gabriel say that was really what the second coming was?
That is the second coming.
That is the second coming.
2 minutes, Joel.
Okay. So we are to refresh mankind by recognizing that the Christ consciousness is awakening in all of us.
And remember, Christ conscious, Christ meaning soul, not a religion. Conscious meaning awakening. It's awakening. We in the higher realms are waiting for humanity to realize how magnificent you are, that you're divine spiritual beings choosing to have this human experience, having learned all the ways you have through duality, separation, confrontation. And through that consciousness, through that awakening, make another choice at this time, if you so choose. Are you not, humanity, sick and tired of the way you have been choosing to learn? Your wars, your separation, your duality. There are many of you awakening. Gather together. Become a collective voice, one into the many, and allow the shift to take place, dear ones, if you so choose.
So we should use all of the chaos that we are seeing on Earth, all of this terrorism and fear, as really an opportunity to really understand our oneness and begin to come together as one in love. Isn't that what all the religions have taught?
Chaos is the key ingredient of creation, dear one. From the chaos are the elements of creating the new paradigm from the old.
Well, we certainly have had plenty of chaos around the world, so we should continue to see that as an opportunity then.
Humanity loves the addiction to the drama, to the chaos. It is stimulating your nervous system, allowing you to realize or to believe that you're good enough to be alive.
There's a public outcry from people who want a better planet, and there are powers that be that let the people panic. Look at the Gulf of Japan, could they have really planned it? Heading for the iceberg like the Titanic. Atlantic history, Atlantis right from history. The truth about the pyramids in ancient Mayan.
Thank you both. And before we get started, big shout out to starseedradio.com for the latest news and updates. Let's see if we can get the boys from the Angel News Network.
Phillip and Joel.
And we'll go over the daily quote. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us on this show. We had a little technical difficulties, but we are live right now, so I'm glad we got you both. And I'm just going to do a little show intro, and then we'll bring you gentlemen right on. And with that, we're going to be going over some top news stories. We've been talking about a lot of top news stories this week. One of the big events that had happened, we had Mr. Donald Trump make a comment about not having any Muslims into the country, has sparked quite a fury across the nation and across the world on that comment, so we'll get into that. That was a big story we covered. Another big story we've been talking about this week and also for the last couple years really is what's building up over in Syria. We've been talking about how Turkey this week has sent in tanks and troops into Iraq. Now Iraq has said for them to get out. From Starseed Radio, we're having a little technical difficulties here, but we are live. It is Friday. Hope everyone can hear us now. We are tuned in. It is December 11th, 2015. We have an awesome show lined up for you today. We're having a little rough time connecting. Hope we are connected. We're going to bring in our special guest for Friday. We have two very special guests doing the Angel News Network segment. I'm your host, Jonah Bolt, the Octorian Starseed. Hope everyone is having a good week and has a good weekend. We're going to see if we could bring in the guys from Angel News Network talking about a 5D perspective on the news and events we've been talking about all week. This is a great segment where we see from a higher realm what exactly is going on. With that, we're going to bring in Mr. Phillip Collins from the Angel News Network, as well as Mr. Joel Anastasi from the Angel News Network. So hang on one second while we bring these guys to the airway. Said no, because they've been buying oil from ISIS. Now China has joined the Syrian coalition with Russia. And now Germany and Saudi Arabia, as of this week, have just put troops, ground troops, in Iraq. So this is a big military buildup. We see this escalating. We don't see this winding down. This is a big story we've been definitely talking about and want to go over today as well. Another big story that we've been talking about is the gun control. What is happening? We talked about the San Bernardino big massacre that happened. I looked up yesterday. We have an average of 40 to 50 people murdered every day in this country. Those are the statistics. 40 to 50 people murdered every day. Last year was as low as 36. This year was on a rise. So we see that people every day are not just committing crimes with guns, but also are getting murdered. What is the answer to this? Holding guns was part of the American Constitution, so we have a lot of gun enthusiasts, NRA, people like that, really protecting their gun rights. So this has been a big story for years now. Obama and his administration, many think, have been trying to All right, what's up, Spaceship Earth? Thanks for tuning in. You are now receiving a live transmission.
You are now tuned into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. TNR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome. We are broadcasting live from the mothership. You are tuned in and listening to Starseed Energy Radio with your host Jonah Bolt. Starseed Energy Radio, where you can always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. Starseed Energy Radio goes live in 3, 2, 1.